Barbados.
Oh shit, they actually talk about a pirate from Barbados. I was not expecting that. I actually knew about this guy.
Sam Bellamy, who is believed to have plundered over $130 million in loot.
Oh my, what?
Sam Bellamy.
What? Saw this. I'm like, bro, I have to see what kings and generals have to say about this.
By the summer of 1715, more than a year had passed since the conclusion of the War of the Spanish Succession. With the war over, the maritime powers of Europe looked to their overseas trade fleets and merchantmen to refill their depleted treasuries. However, the war's end brought forth an unintended side effect. Hundreds of now unemployed sailors who had fought as privateers for both sides in the war now turned their talents for sailing and commerce raiding towards personal gain. Piracy became rampant on the high seas, especially in hotspots like the West Indies and Madagascar. These men, and even some women, sailed under the Black Flag, owing allegiance to no country or monarch, and making their fortunes by terrorizing the sea lanes in search of lucrative merchant ships to rob. In this video, we'll be exploring the story of the final, most well-known phase of the Golden Age of piracy, examining the fascinating lives and tales of infamous and notorious pirates of the post-Spanish succession period running from 1715 to around 1726.
And we'd be remiss to not arm you with something from the current Golden Age of...
In the summer of 1701, the War of the Spanish Succession broke out in Europe as a great power contest to determine whether the throne of the Spanish Empire would remain Habsburg or transition to the House of Bourbon. In May 1702, England's new monarch, Queen Anne, issued a proclamation designed to boost Britain's depleted naval strength. The proclamation authorized the use of privateers to harass the merchant shipping and overseas commerce of France and Spain. Generally speaking, privateers were civilians, privately owned vessels that governments would commission in wartime by special letters of marque to attack and capture the shipping of enemy nations. Issuing letters of marque to privateers was seen as a much cheaper alternative to building up large and expensive war fleets. Theoretically, privateers could serve as auxiliaries to regular naval forces, but their chief role was restricted to commerce raiding. In the long course of the War of the Spanish Succession, British and American privateers were immensely successful, capturing more than 2,000 ships as prizes. In 1713, England exited the war through the Peace of Utrecht, which transformed Great Britain into the dominant maritime power of Europe. England was triumphant on land and sea. However, the war's end suddenly meant unemployment for large numbers of sailors who had served as privateers for the British Crown. The Royal Navy, bankrupted by 12 years of war, rapidly demobilized its fleet, mothballing warships and dumping nearly 3/4 of its manpower, over 36,000 men, in the first 24 months after the signing of the Peace of Utrecht. Privateering contracts suddenly became worthless. Privateer warships were tied up at docks, and their unemployed crews spilled out onto the wharves of England and the Americas, forced to beg for work while the merchant captains cut their crew wages by over 50%.
Woo!
Those sailors...
Shit, that's like today, bro. We got the job market in America. Horrendous. Ain't no jobs anywhere.
Fortunate enough to find work on a merchant ship barely made ends meet, surviving on 22 to 28 shillings a month. Making matters worse, peace with Spain did not bring peace to English sailors finding work in the West Indies. Spanish Coast Guard vessels, known as the Guardas Costas, prowled the waters of the Caribbean, seizing English vessels passing to and from Jamaica and declaring that they were smugglers if so much as a single Spanish coin was found on board. However, they always found illicit coins, since the Spanish dollar was the de facto currency in all of England's Caribbean colonies. In the first 2 years,
yo, I actually did not know that. Wow.
Years of peace, 38 Jamaican trading vessels were seized, costing the owners nearly £76,000 in losses.
This is the first map of the Caribbean where it's actually like it looks actually well done. Oh my goodness. Although in real life though, these islands are well, yeah, this is a pretty pure map. And then you have my country there in the corner, just isolated. Which at the time was a colony.
Guardas Costas often killed a few sailors in retribution, while the rest would spend months or even years in Cuban prisons. In summary, the Caribbean had become even more dangerous in peacetime than in war. Impoverished mariners crowded the streets, taverns, and boarding houses of Port Royal, Jamaica, angry at their treatment by the Spanish Guardas Costas and frustrated by inaction from their own British government. Losses to the Spanish meant English merchantmen sent out fewer vessels from Port Royal, and as a consequence, there was an acute lack of job opportunities for unemployed sailors. English mariners captured by the Spanish, some more than once, were tortured and abused by their captors as their finances were pinched by their employers, who made up for shipping losses by simply not paying their sailors during time spent in Spanish prisons.
Wow.
Fed up with Spanish abuse and British neglect, large numbers of sailors and ex-privateers now turned to piracy.
I'm just highlighting this because I usually don't really talk about the Caribbean, even though I am from there. But like, a lot of people tend to overlook that this region was like at its peak, like a very big hub for trade, especially with sugar and all that, right? And rum and all that jazz. Like, a lot of people just think that the Caribbean was just there, just in the background. People usually think, oh, it was North America was where it was at. No, it was actually the opposite. North America was the real thing that was just there. The Caribbean was really and truly where things were actually at, really and truly. Because that's where the true money was to be made. That's why you get all this fucking trade going on here. And you get all this shit going on here too. Right? That culminates into that. But yeah, it really blows my mind. Even with people from European countries that supposedly like know the history of their country, like France. Well, I don't really see French people have this issue. More like British people, Spanish people. Those were like the two main others. The Dutch people, they don't really have that issue because the Dutch still owns overseas territories in the Caribbean. But like those two people, they usually just kind of, they just don't know the importance of the Caribbean.
War had inadvertently trained thousands of new pirate recruits. One of the very first to turn pirate was Benjamin Hornigold, and he took with him Edward Teach, or Thatch. Both had served together aboard Jamaican privateers during the war and had become unemployed with the peace. By the summer of 1713, both were fed up with poverty in Port Royal and angry at the Spanish Guardas Costas. Hornigold convinced Teach and a number of former shipmates and drinking buddies to put their privateering skills to good use and solve both problems. They would go back to attacking the Spanish, while simultaneously enriching themselves. All that was needed was a small ship, a few good men, and a secure base from which to operate. Hornigold knew just the place, and it was right there in the Caribbean, the Bahamas. During the war, there had been fierce fighting in and around the sparsely inhabited islands of the Bahamas. Most of it centered around the one island with the most commercial importance, New Providence. In 1703, a Franco-Spanish expedition had virtually destroyed the island's only major settlement, chief harbour, and seat of government for the Bahamas, Nassau. In the year after the sack of Nassau, the governor of the Bahamas abdicated, and in the following years many of the town's inhabitants gave up and fled to the mainland. As the population steadily declined, no effort was made to re-establish a colonial government in Nassau. Then, in 1713, the pirates moved in. When Hornigold and his party stepped onto the beach at Nassau, they found not a town, but a collection of partially collapsed buildings, overgrown with scrub and tropical vegetation, gathered around the burned-out shells of a church and a fort. On the whole island, there were probably
I didn't even know that, bro. I did not even know. Like, I knew the Bahamas was like the base for the pirate republic, but like, damn, I did not know that. And that's the thing about a lot of these islands. They're not what you'd think they are today, obviously. Like, it was very, very, very sparse. Well, no, that's not true, because like Barbados, I think around this time had like a good population of like 60,000 people or some shit, but a lot of those people were fucking slaves, you know. But still, Barbados, my home city, Bridgetown, at this time was one of the peak cities in the entirety of the New World, so I can't really say that. Although I did always find it interesting how the English nor Spanish nor anyone else never really settled the big island. Because, you know, you have the Bahamas archipelago, but Nassau is where the real settlement is at. But the bigger, I don't know what the fuck the bigger island is called, but the bigger island is actually very sparse. Like, it's even today. I always saw that weird.
Families living in hovels and rudimentary houses, barely eking out a living through fishing, tree cutting, or salvaging the remains of ships wrecked on the island's treacherous shores. Hornigold knew that he'd made the right choice. The men organized themselves into 3 bands, building 3 large wooden boats capable of carrying 30 men. Over the next 6 months, Hornigold and his band of pirates attacked small Spanish trading vessels and isolated sugar plantations from the Straits of Florida to the shores of Cuba. Hornigold's crew returned to Nassau laden with expensive Silesian linens, Asian silks, silver coins stolen from Spanish vessels, and rum. Together, Hornigold's crew brought cargoes worth £13,175 into the ruins of Nassau. Other former privateers who turned to piracy soon followed in Ben Hornigold's wake. The island was at the center of heavily traded sea lanes between the Spanish possessions to the west, the North American coast, only a short sailing trip to the north, and the European trade routes between France and England and their rich sugar colonies in the West Indies. By 1715, more than 2,000 ex-privateers had invaded New Providence in the wake of Captain Hornigold. They referred to their anarchic state as the Republic of Pirates. By the following year...
Oh, that's some interesting fucking lore, bro. That's some interesting fucking lore. And, you know, thank you, Kings and Generals, for pointing out this, making a whole video on this, even though you're just talking about the pirates, but you still highlight the importance of the Caribbean, nonetheless. Like, again, I have people, this is why I will always say, like, dude, you can't get the British Empire without its Caribbean colonies. Like, the Caribbean colonies, man, especially Barbados, Jamaica, made the early British Empire so much money that it was so vital to it. Why you think these pirates are around there? I mean, like what he just said, right? The sugar, man, the sugar. Lucrative as hell. There's a reason why it was called white gold back then, man. And a lot of people just don't know that.
Year 1716, the pirates based in Nassau and New Providence Island had become a menace to the mercantile shipping from the coast of Maine to the Spanish Main. But even this was only the beginning of a revived pirate war on the civilized world. On July 24th, 1715, the annual Spanish treasure fleet departed Havana, bound for Cadiz, Spain, heavily laden down with a vast cargo of jewels, gold, and silver, valued at around 14 million pesos. A week later, the fleet became caught in a vicious hurricane, and all 11 treasure galleons were wrecked on the eastern shore of Florida.
All of that
Spanish
money.
vessels from Havana were dispatched to salvage the wrecks, working with diving equipment to recover the sunken treasure. The Spaniards recovered several million pieces of eight, most of which they transported to the fortress in Havana. But some 350,000 pieces of eight still awaited transport, and this silver was being held in a guardhouse on shore under the watchful eyes of 60 armed men. Unbeknownst to the Spanish, several ex-privateers in Jamaica, including Henry Jennings, Benjamin Hornigold, Edward Teach, Charles Vane, and Samuel Bellamy, had learned of the salvaging operation, and they set sail in 5 ships for the coast of Florida. The small flotilla of around 300 men attacked the Spanish guards and then seized the waiting treasure, carrying it off towards Jamaica. However, upon reaching Jamaica, the pirates were shocked to discover they were not welcomed with open arms. The Spanish had complained to the governor of Jamaica, Lord Archibald Hamilton, pointing out that there was a peace treaty in force and they demanded the return of the silver. Since the war was now long over, Lord Hamilton let the ex-privateers know that they would not go unpunished. And so, the pirates set sail for Nassau and established it as their main base. Most Nassau pirates concentrated their raiding on the trade between Britain and her American colonies. One particular effect of the pirate presence in the Caribbean, often complained of by planters and merchants, was the unrest spread among the African slaves who worked in the cane fields of the Sugar Islands. These enslaved peoples, hearing rumors that they would be welcomed in the Pirate Republic, ran away from their plantations in ever-increasing numbers, bent on becoming pirates.
Oh my gosh, he's actually talking about that. That's crazy. I was waiting to see if he was going to talk about this.
As the Pirate Republic on Nassau flourished, powerful personalities and dominant figures arose from the ranks of the brigands who flocked to the free life on the island. Among the most notorious of Nassau was Edward Teach, soon to become immortalized by his terrifying nickname, Blackbeard, and who would be wanted by the authorities from Honduras to Nova Scotia. Bloody and cruel, Blackbeard was a terror not only to his victims, but even to fellow pirates who consorted with him in the taverns and brothels. On November 28, 1717, Blackbeard and his crew captured a 200-ton French slave ship off the island of Martinique, which was renamed Queen Anne's Revenge. Blackbeard terrorized the West Indies during his raiding spree aboard the Queen Anne's Revenge. Other pirate captains were also fearsome.
I didn't even know it was a slave ship. I thought it was just a galleon. I didn't know it was a slave ship. That's actually kind of crazy. But shit, bro. You could tell whoever did this video actually did their research, bro. Because a lot of people also tend to forget that a bunch of slaves were pirates too, or, well, dare I say ex-slaves. Some of them, not all of them, went on the high seas and whatnot. I mean, yeah, for the most part, yeah. But there are some interesting ways that some ex-slaves engage in piracy. But some of them would engage in piracy on said island that they fucking escaped from. I don't know how to describe it, to be honest. I'm really bad at explaining things, but what they would do is, instead of raiding ships on the sea, think of it as just raiding ships on the island, literally. Like, just basically what an average person would do, but, you know, they would still be technically classed as a pirate.
Figures. Charles Vane specialized in preying on shipping bound for North American ports. Vane would often sail with other pirate captains in a flotilla, regarding this as the most effective means of ensuring numerical superiority when attacking their prey. Vane never allowed his lust for women, rage, or drink to cloud his vision. and he
Yep.
enjoyed years of success as a Nassau captain because he
Salute
knew
to
when
you.
fight and when to run. Perhaps one of the most successful pirates of the post-Spanish succession period was Samuel Black Sam Bellamy, who is believed to have plundered over $130 million in loot.
Oh my,
Well-mannered,
what?
Sam Bellamy
What?
like other pirates, and was known for carrying 4 dueling pistols in his sash. Like many of the other pirate ships of the day, Black Sam's crew was considered very democratic, organizing votes to elect men into vital crew roles. Bellamy usually pirated with 2 ships, one heavily armed and the other smaller and more maneuverable to block ships and easily capture them. His balanced and coordinated attacks meant he took many ships with their cargoes fully intact. After participating in the pirate raid on the 1715 Treasure Fleet salvage operation, Sam Bellamy partnered with Ben Hornigold and Edward Teach aboard the ship Marianne. However, by the summer of 1716, Hornigold's crew had become annoyed that their captain refused to attack ships flying English colours, and voted to depose both him and Teach from command. Sam Bellamy was then elected captain of the remaining 90 crewmen. After captaining the Marianne for a while, Bellamy came upon the ship Sultana, capturing her and converting her into a 26-gun galley, which he took command of as his flagship. In late February 1717, Bellamy attacked the 300-ton, 18-gun slave ship Whydah Galley as she passed through the Windward Passage between Cuba and Hispaniola. She had just completed the second leg of the Middle Passage in the Columbian Exchange, dropping off 500 slaves in the Caribbean and picking up boatloads of gold, treasure, and fine goods to return to England with.
Golly, 500 slaves! 500 slaves! Wow! My goodness! I know what's crazy about that is that freaking 25% of slaves usually like died. So there's probably a lot more slaves that were on that fucking ship than what was dropped off. Cause I know a lot of people, bro. Every time I see a slave ship, bro, I just imagine the stench. The stench. It blows my mind how people could even engage in some shit like that, because the stench alone, bro, like, oh my goodness, I could only fucking imagine. You are smelling blood, you are smelling piss, you are smelling shit, all of that mixed together. You are smelling body odor, bro. That has to be, you not even that, you are smelling dead people, because a lot of those fucking slaves died, dude. Good, like I said, a good quarter of them died, right? It's like ugh, just ugh. Also, something that I was waiting for him to talk about was the Scottish and Irish people who were also pirates as well, because I talked about this a bit in my videos, but a lot of people weren't watching me back then, not really watching me right now. I said this before in the video. I always tell people, you see that whole like Disney fucking pirate accent, like AR matey, like that's bullshit. Okay, like what pirates actually sounding like is what Caribbean people sound like today. Like I always tell people, like I'm like, my accent is what pirates sounded like literally, like this is literally how pirates sounded like. Now, depending on which island that they came from, their accent is gonna be, different. But yeah, your Caribbean accents, really and truly, they are distinct from each other, but you have a general idea of what Caribbean accents sound like, right? So your image of a Caribbean accent, really and truly, or just what you're hearing from me right now, is a good idea of what pirates actually sounded like, not fucking arg-matey shit. And the reason why they sounded like that is because many people from Scotland, Ireland, You know, like I said, they went to the Caribbean for better lives, right? They went to the Caribbean for better lives, and well, like the video entailed, and I already explained, doing this shit was very profitable, very lucrative. So a lot of these people whose lives were absolutely garbage, especially the Irish who were treated so badly by the English, and really and truly, you know, we all know the Irish and how they were treated. I don't need to explain that, right? I mean, that's why so many of them fled to America, right? We all know that. I don't need to explain that. But yeah, so yeah, this is why, right? This is why pirates got the accent that they got, because it was them, those people, the Irish and Scottish. They're the ones responsible, because they're the ones who, like, a lot of those people who started this. Even then, in this period of time, in the English accent was not the way how it was today. It was a lot more erotic, depending on what part of England you're from. But a lot of people who fled to the Caribbean were poor. Okay, they're poor. They were looking for better lives. So a lot of these places from a lot of these poorer ends of Britain or Britannia, whichever one you want to call it, they tend to have the erotic accent. Now, what is a erotic accent, you might be asking? It's basically the R pronunciation. Some of you might know that, some of you might not know that. This is why you get people who say water, right? You get people who say water. That's a erotic accent. A non-erotic accent is somebody who doesn't pronounce the fucking R's. And so instead of saying water, they say water, right? Now, in the case of Barbados, it's both. Some people say water, some people say water. I always used to pronounce it as water growing up as a kid. It's not really until I came to America and I adopted my local American accent, like my local American, like African American accent around me, that I started saying water. Because if you've been watching me long enough, you've heard me say talking a erotic accent. It was half and half, like really and truly. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because that's how that fucking Disney stereotype of R fucking came around, because of the fucking erotic accents that Scottish people and Irish people have. Even now today, they talk in a very erotic way where they really put the stress on the R's. People in Barbados still do that. Like I said, which is my country, if you don't know that. Like in words like far, right? Like far or are, like, are you okay? Like me or that, right? So, you know, a lot of words that sound like that. And do you notice how when I'm pronouncing those words, because this is how Barbadians speak, that's literally how I would pronounce those type of words. Like I said, Barbados, the Bajan accent is like, it's either erotic and then it's non-erotic. It's literally mixed. So but a lot of other places also pronounce words similarly, because again, that's the Irish. Like in a nutshell, it's just Irish and Scottish accents. Okay, that's literally just what the pirate accent was. All right, but you notice when I was pronouncing those words, it does sound like this stupid fucking Disney arg matey fucking stereotype. Yeah, that's basically what happened. Okay, like it was an actual sound. It was an actual sound, yeah, but they didn't just fucking go around saying arg, 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 arg. Like, no, they only made that sound when they were pronouncing words that had like fucking like far me, far you, or me or him, you know, words like that, right? You know, words that require them to pronounce that erotic R, that stress on the R, right? So yeah, that's what I'm saying basically. So literally, it blows my mind how a lot of people do not know this about pirates and their accents. Is like, I'm like y'all don't know that pirates are literally just Scottish and fucking Irish accents. Like what? Like Oh my goodness, man. Oh my fucking goodness. It blows my mind. People think it's just like its own unique thing where these people just develop some unique style of Switch. Like, no. No. Oh my gosh, man. Like, a lot of these people who began piracy at first were from fucking Scotland or Ireland. Like, of course, they're gonna have the biggest influence of them all.
After a fierce 3-day chase, the Whydar's captain, Lawrence Prince, surrendered the ship without a struggle. After capturing the ship, Bellamy stayed true to his reputation as the Robin Hood of the seas and traded the Sultana to Captain Prince for the Whydar galley, which he made his new flagship. Captain Bellamy and his crew then spent the next several months pirating off the coast of the British North American colonies. Another ex-privateer who journeyed to Nassau and later became a notorious pirate captain was Calico Jack Rackham. A brash figure fond of splashy waistcoats, bright ribbons and colourful breeches, Jack Rackham was initially elected quartermaster of Vane's ship, the Ranger. But his real fame and reputation came later when he met and wooed a flamboyantly beautiful Irish woman named Anne Bonny.
But she looks chopped as hell. What the heck? Talk about beautiful this, beautiful that. Look at that. Oh, hell nah, bruh. Oh, hell nah. You did not just utter those words and then show that chopped ass picture, man. What the heck?
1715 or 1716 as the wife of a poor young sailor. Although only 16 at the time, she yearned for the adventure of life at sea, and despite her married state, she often sought out the company of pirates like Vane, Blackbeard, or Hornigold, drinking with them and soaking up their way of life. When she met and eventually fell in love with the swaggering Jack Rackham, she fought by his side as fiercely as any male pirate. Not all pirates were competent. There was, for example, the case of the gentleman pirate, Stede Bonnet, who turned to piracy to escape his unhappy marriage life. As a member of a good English family and the owner of a successful sugar plantation in Barbados, Bonnet was regarded as a gentleman by his peers on the island until he suddenly announced his intention to become a pirate. Bonnet soon christened his sugar trading ship as the Revenge, and then...
Oh shit, they actually talk about a pirate from Barbados. I was not expecting that. I actually knew about this guy, but I didn't think that they were going to talk about him in this video. That's actually mad. I was not expecting them to talk about my country in this video. Usually most pirate videos, they usually just talk about Jamaica and Bahamas. I was not expecting them to talk about my country here.
Went out to join the pirates of Nassau. He would eventually fall in with the crew of Blackbeard. Although popular culture from the past 3 centuries has depicted the pirate's life as a swashbuckling adventure, the reality was far from the truth.
Yep.
Life aboard pirate ships during the Golden Age was crowded and dirty. Pirate crews were much larger than those of merchant ships, and men were crowded closely together aboard their ship. Add to this the intense heat of the tropical West Indies, the liberal use of alcohol, and the touchy pride of men who jealously defended the equality they gained by joining the democracy of pirates, and it's clear to see that maintaining discipline aboard these rowdy ships was no easy task. Pirate society was governed by the articles the crewmen and officers signed on joining, which were an attempt to impose a legal system all could agree on. One common pirate article required every man keep his weapons clean and ready for use at any given moment. Gambling was usually banned on board the ships, and drinking was usually restricted to the top deck to prevent fires breaking out in holds. Contrary to the popular culture's depiction of ruthless, tyrannical pirate captains lording over their crews, the majority of pirate crews were highly democratic and organized shipboard elections to choose the most able or popular sailors to important leadership and officer roles such as captain and quartermaster. These elected officers could just as easily be deposed by the crew they commanded. The makeup of pirate crews was diverse, with men hailing from all backgrounds and races. Among the pirate crew's ranks were escaped slaves, men disgraced or scorned by civilized society, penniless ex-privateers, and impoverished sailors, with some even possessing former military experience. Pirate crews needed frequent replenishing. Most men sailing under the black flag were volunteers, but casualties from disease, combat, accidents, and occasional desertions took their toll. Since able seamen, maritime carpenters, coopers, and navigators were preferred, pirates sought recruits from among the crews of the ships they captured. Pirates did not like risking injuries to themselves or damage to their prizes, so when ships ran or fought, their captains were usually punished severely. The pirates would then try to persuade the rest of the men to enlist in their crews. The pirate captain or quartermaster might make valid arguments to their captives regarding the merchantman's poor treatment and underfunding by their captains, which usually persuaded many to join their ranks. The actual capturing of prizes by pirate ships has also been embellished by popular culture. Pirates seldom surprise their prey. Rather, they boldly announce their arrival with a shot across the enemy ship's bow and displaying the black flag. As they closed with their victims, pirates usually appeared on deck drunk and heavily armed. Alcohol would temporarily boost the pirates' courage and dull the pain of wounds.
I thought that's how people knew pirates attack. They just go right in. What the heck? People actually believe that shit? That pirates would just sneakily... How the hell can you even sneakily ambush anyone anyways? Like, what?
Frequently, they would dance about the deck to music provided by the ship's musicians, waving their weapons, shouting war cries and growling, and often shouting insults at their prey. Though most pirates had fearsome reputations as eager fighters...
Yo, you know what I imagine when he say that shit, bro? Just... Because like I said earlier, like, your pirate accent is literally just like... Just the average British Caribbean accents, man, or Anglophone accent, whatever you want to say, or English Caribbean accents. Just after this video, just go and watch. Just go and search like Caribbean people cursing at each other or fucking Caribbean people arguing, and just watch it. You won't understand anything. But I guarantee you, I fucking well guarantee you. Yo, I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. Like, that's 100%. Like, the moment I heard he say throwing insults, just the way how Caribbean people just throw the fucking insults, bro. Yo. 100%. I know it was 100% like that. I'm telling you, just go search it up, watch it. I'm telling you, it was 100% like that. I'm telling you, bro. It's funny because some people who like hear people like, I remember I was watching this one video of this one Bajan woman from Barbados, who was cursing someone out, and some of the comments, I was reading the comments, and some of the comments was like, she sounds like her accent, like why does her accent sound like a pirate? Or some people were like, her accent sounds like a weird Irish pirate fucking accent. I'm like, bro, people really don't know this, bro. People really lacking their info on this is mad, bro. But I'm telling you, just go Google, not even Google, just search up on YouTube, because there's so many videos of this shit, because it's so fucking hilarious. Just Google Caribbean people cursing or at each other or arguing with each other. I'm telling you, bro, you will not be disappointed. You will not be disappointed, man. Oh my goodness. You know, it's funny because this year, I actually have to return back to Barbados. I gotta return back to my country. I don't know if I'm gonna do like a small like vlog fucking post or whatever, because I don't know. Yeah, I was like debating on that, and honestly, I need to fucking make up my mind, because it's fucking, we're already in fucking July.
They really had little to gain and much to lose from combat. The pirates' intimidating appearance was usually enough to frighten their prey into surrendering before a fight ever broke out. If the target tried to run, however, the pirates would give chase, attempting to disable her before closing in for the kill. If the enemy crew resisted further, the pirates would then jump onto their enemy's decks and engage in bloody close-quarters boarding action.
Oh yeah, I bet, man.
By the end of 1717, the Nassau pirates had so savaged Caribbean shipping that the British government was beginning to take notice of their sharp drop in commerce. It was one thing for the pirates to be raiding commercial shipping of the Spanish or the French, but when these rascalous pirates of the Nassau began severely hurting British trade, the government of King George V...
Yes, the trade!
As the situation in the Caribbean worsened, and it became apparent that the Royal Navy would not or could not suppress the Nassau pirates, a syndicate of British merchants joined together to deal with the problem. Soon,
yes, that's how you get Britain to solve anything when it's fucking trade. It's being ruined. I swear, that's all that's all Britain fucking cared about. Trade. That's all the British Empire was, a fucking trade empire, bro. You Britain, this is why Britain was low-key like a force for good. And I say low-key because it was not completely, because Britain would place trade above anything. But if our trade wasn't, being disrupted, Britain would do good shit.
enough, this consortium had formulated a bold plan to restore order to Nassau and defeat the pirates of the Caribbean. More videos about history's greatest rogues and adventurers are on the way. To make sure you don't miss that, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing.
What? There's more? Oh my goodness, man. This series looks lit, man. Of course I'm gonna react to fucking more of the series in the future. Anyways, man, you made it all the way here to the end of this video. If you have any videos that I would love to react to, you would love to see my reaction to, if you haven't already commented in the comments below, I will eventually do it. My active viewers, it's only 99 cents, but if you're an active viewer, like I said, college, job, I'm gonna get more people on my channel in due time. You want to stay in touch with me, you want to keep close contact with me, join my channel membership for 99 cents, bro. It's like a private community where my active viewers who are more dedicated into watching my stuff, who like my reactions, and just like talking with me, right? You could keep that link between us going, right? So that you don't get fucking washed away in the crowd of people just flooding in, into my channel. Even though my channel is small, but eventually, like I said, I don't plan on moving from this channel anytime soon, all right? I don't. Okay, reactions is like my primary thing that I'm doing right now, but like I said, I plan on doing other shit in the future, okay? Like, I was already saying, like, I don't know if I was deciding to do, like, a travel blog in Barbados when I go back there, because, I always talk about Barbados, but if you see Barbados in person, that'd be a different thing. Like, I think a lot of you guys would actually enjoy that. It's a very nice place. So, I plan to do much more than just that, okay? Like, me and my brother, who is supposed to be coming on this channel, and he still is. We were literally just talking today. We were like, dude, like, we were just planning on how we will collaborate our two channels together and all that fun jazz. And he has a lot of shit, like I said. So, I'm telling you, bro, you might say, oh, I don't need to join the channel membership right now. Like, okay, sure. Maybe not right now, but I'm telling you, like, it's worth it right now, and it'll be worth it in the future. So, anyways, go check out my other reactions, man. Turn the bell notifications on. Man, thank you for watching. And goodbye.